Hi everyone, this is Angie and Ben, and welcome to our homestead. We didn't realize how compromised the existing floor joists were until we started opening up the floor and started replacing them. The original plan was just to sister new joists onto the old joists, but after we ripped the floor off, I realized that a lot of them had already been sistered, and those ones had been rotten as well. So basically everything had to go. You can see here that we replaced the old floor joists with new 2x8 dimensional lumber. We notched out the edges to give this weird little shim extension that wraps around the top of the timber. And this essentially just acts as a shim to allow the plywood to go wall to wall instead of just to the edge of the timber. I did go back after that and add joist hangers, so it isn't just that little shim supporting the weight of the whole floor. The joist hanger does add a good bit of strength. Then in between those little notched edges, I did put in 1x material with shims to span the gap, and this just gives additional reinforcement along the edges of the plywood. I believe we went with 3/4 inch plywood with the interlocking tongue and groove edges for the floor deck. The rough dimensions of this bathroom are about 7.5 feet by 15 feet. The two end walls have windows and the long wall does not. I had to completely reframe out each of these walls. The long wall, however, I left the timbers in place that were supporting the roof and holding up the siding, and I simply built a 2x4 framed wall inside of that and stood it up. I sistered 2x4s to the ceiling framing in order to create a level line surface for the drywall to attach to. Based on my understanding of the code here in North Carolina, this room required 4 different circuits. One for the high voltage plug that feeds the dryer, one for the washing machine, one for the electrical outlets, and one for the lights and vent fan. I used 3/4 inch PEX under the house to move from one room to the other. Under the bathroom, I stepped down the 3/4 inch PEX to 1/2 inch at 2 manifolds, one for the hot, one for the cold, with their own dedicated shutoffs. The 1/2 inch then goes up to the individual fixtures of the bathroom. I couldn't find any roof insulation designed to fit in a 4-inch cavity, so I used 2 layers of 2-inch pink styrofoam. I ripped this into lengths with the table saw, and I secured it into the stud cavity with spray foam. And then this expansive foam would also seal up any gaps around the edges as well. And the walls, I just used standard paper-backed insulation bats. We chose a smaller window than what was there before, so I knew that there would be some siding to patch on the outside of the house. The most outer layer of our siding seems to be a cardboard-based clapboard, which I was able to patch with a cement fiber clapboard. I also built a cedar frame to go around the outside of the window and to fill the gap around the siding that I cut out. We decided to keep one section of the original tongue and groove as a feature wall, but a few boards needed to be replaced. I used salvaged wood from the other walls to patch it. I installed 1/4 inch hardybacker as underlayment for the tile. We chose 2-foot-long wood plank tiles to match the aesthetic of the house. After grouting, I installed the toilet flange. This was a bit tricky because I had to drill holes first to allow the screws to get through to the plywood. We primed the room, then we painted bright colors to make the space feel more open. Installed a dual flush toilet to conserve water. And we found 2 vanities and a washer and dryer secondhand at a great price. I wanted an antique look for the vanity lighting, but I couldn't find anything cost-effective enough, so I built my own fixtures. The shower was definitely the most tedious and time-consuming part of this project. Everything about this phase was new to me, and the experts on the internet can't seem to agree on the best way to do things. I started by using deck mud and formed it into a preliminary slope towards the drain pipe. On top of that, I put the drain flange and waterproofed pan liner. I put some gravel around the flange to encourage draining, and then I used the same deck mud as the pre-slope to form the final slope over the pan liner. I wrapped the shower curb with metal lath so no fasteners would puncture the membrane. I built a form to contain the mortar to form the curb. The next step was to install half-inch hardy backer for the shower walls. Once the seams are sealed with thin set, 2 coats of red guard is rolled around on the walls to make it waterproof. I troweled thin set directly over the red guard to begin tiling. I used a basic subway tile design, but the trickiest parts were the edges. I used bullnose trim pieces for the transitions and trim, but I had to make a lot of custom cuts to achieve the desired look. I wanted small honeycomb tiles for the floor, and I ordered some extra for a feature in the recessed shelf. The last pieces I put in are the shower heads and their knobs. We have one adjustable wand with a hose and then a rain shower head on the ceiling. Each have independent hot and cold valves, which makes this a 2-person shower. I had to custom cut and install my own trim in this room. I stained it myself to match the rest of the house the best I could. I also installed a step to ease the transition between the living room and the bathroom. While I don't think this room will ever be completed, it is perfectly usable. There's just a few gaps that need to be filled with trim.